And good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to attend today's training. We wanted this, we scheduled this because there are some changes in our reporting area in Access 360. Some of these are ongoing changes, but we wanted to point those out to you now because the old reporting, there were some discrepancies when we were looking at the multi-use titles. And for those of you who don't know, the multi-use titles are the ones that more than one person can read simultaneously. And the old reports, our old reports didn't capture those really in the right way because they're a newer offering from Baker and Taylor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about. So there we go, and pull this over. All right, so hopefully, Anna, can you see my screen?
Yeah, log into Sales Demo Library. Yep.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so again, this is the admin that you might be used to, where you're used to going for all of your reporting and tweaking things within Access 360. So I'm going to go ahead and click Login here. And I'm actually going to stop my camera because sometimes it makes things a little bit slower when I have my camera on. All right. Okay, so here we are at the home page. And you're going to see there's a couple extra things that you might not be used to seeing up here at the top. That's because I am using our sales demo, and we have several new tools that are coming in Access 360 that we'll be announcing over the next couple months. And we'll have some webinars for those as well. Some of those include programs, which is going to allow you to, if you have a book club program, it's going to allow you to highlight a book or a series of books, and people can join up to those programs and they'll get badges and all kinds of fun things. So that's coming soon. There's going to be some assignments. This is going to be part of our new kids focused version of Access 360. So we are coming up with a kid-friendly version. It's not going to be a whole nother system. It's just going to be a different view for you to share with your younger readers. So that's why I just wanted to point out why you might see a couple new things up here. Now, what we're going to cover today, though, this has been here for, I want to say it's been about a year, maybe a little bit longer, this interactive dashboard reports. So we have two report titles at this point. We have this interactive dashboard reports that's newer, and then we have this reports tile. And these are our legacy reports. So depending on when you joined, if you joined several years ago, this is where you would go for all of your reporting. And it was only just straight canned reports. So if I click on that, I'm going to see my inventory reports, circulation reports, hold reports, et cetera, et cetera. So the idea is that the interactive dashboard reports will eventually completely replace these reports. What we decided to do is put them into the system so that both are available while we're developing the interactive dashboard reports, so that we can get customer feedback as we're doing the programming, as we're adding to it. And throughout the next year, you are going to see some enhancements to what I'm going to show you today, but the basic principles are going to be the same. And then once we've completed all of the programming that we're going to do in the interactive dashboard reports, this report tile will go away. As it stands, anything that you can get in the old reports, you can now get in the interactive dashboard reports. There are some additional things that you can get in the interactive dashboard reports that you couldn't before. And one of those would be that correct reporting on those multi-use titles. So when you do your end of the year numbers or your numbers, Anna said that most of you have to pull numbers for, Anna, what was that again?
It's for IPLAR, the annual report that public libraries need to fill out.
Okay, so as you're getting those numbers together, the best place to do that is in the interactive dashboard reports. So I'm going to go ahead and click into that. And when I click into that, I'm going to see 3 tiles. If you ever sign up for our pay per circ supplement, you will see a 4th. So Baker and Taylor does offer a pay per circ option as a supplemental to what you get from Rails. But I think maybe a couple of people out there have that. I'm not sure if anyone on the phone does. So you might not see this, and I'm not going to go into the pay per circ report today. It's very intuitive. If you do have pay per circ, if you can't figure it out for whatever reason, let Anna know, and she'll put you in touch with me. So inventory reports, circulation reports, and user reports is what you're going to see. First one, I want to go over, I'll go over inventory first. I'm going to click on this, and sometimes on a webinar, it takes a little bit longer than it does without. And so when I click on this, I'm going to come to my landing page. My landing page has tiles of the different report views. I don't want to say necessarily reports themselves, because we do have some dashboards, and we're going to continue to develop additional dashboards based on feedback from our customers. So from the landing page, I can either click on any of these tiles, or if you can see down below, those are repeated in tabs. So a couple different ways to navigate. First thing that I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you the inventory dashboard. So this is going to give me a snapshot of what I have in the system right now. So I have a total of 22,723 titles, 36,000 plus copies, and then new titles added, new title copies. These numbers are driven by the date range that you see up in the upper right-hand corner. So that would be anything added this month. So the dashboard is just really a snapshot of what you have going on currently in the system. So total titles, how many titles are expiring soon. That, that's nice. And actually, I don't think that you're going to see expired titles coming from the consortia. You would just see if you purchased your own. Scoped titles. This is really only going to apply to schools. So I don't know if we have any attendees from schools out here, but there is a scoped title reports, because schools sometimes will use that tool so not to show some general adult content, for example. So you might not see things in the scope title or the titles expiring soon. Most of these filters up here, you probably will not use either. That is one of the feedback that I have given to support, and I'm just going to be perfectly honest on this training. There are more bells and whistles than are probably needed in the system. So I've heard when I've done training before that they're like, well, what does this do? It doesn't seem to do anything. And for those of you who are, kind of like me, I want to know what everything does. Some things I'm hoping that the bells and whistles will just go away, because it's almost too much. Developers tend to be the type of person, it's like, well, everybody should have every option, but sometimes it can be overwhelming. So again, This is under development. Everything's here. I mentioned before that we're in our legacy reports. Some new things, but things like on the dashboard, as you come in from time to time, you might see improvements based on what we're hearing from customers. We've already heard that the top 25 subjects, this is going to be reworked into probably not this tile view, not exactly what people want to see. They like the idea of seeing what the top subjects are in inventory, but this view is not optimal. Inventory ebook versus e-audio, you can see that. Titles by audience. The other thing you might come in and see is, from what I understand, this is going to be just your basic categorization of general adult, teens, and children, and then you could expand each one of those out if you would like. So right now it's, you're going to see everything that you have. If, you might come in here someday and you just see the general adult, children, and teens, and you'll be able to click to expand any of those. So just a heads up if you do see that. Remove titles are titles that have expired, again, in this time frame, this month. So if I wanted to, so this is designed, I'm going to interrupt myself. This is designed here to be the most intuitive, I guess, date range, because when I'm looking at inventory, I want to see my totals, and I want to see what's been added this month, the 53 new titles, and that's something that I want to see. And I just clicked on that, and it did not. I thought that was supposed to actually take me out to. Nope. So I would have to go to one of these others. I apologize. I thought maybe that's an enhancement that this is going to take us to the full list. So if I wanted to change this date, if I wanted to say, I want to see how many titles were added last month. So I can change these dates easily. And I like this. I kind of like where I can say last 1 month, and that's going to go from 3/1 to 3/29. And actually, if I did last calendar month, that's going to show me what was added in February. So I can see 96 titles were added in February with 142. So I can toggle dates to see what I want here. I can also, if I want to do a custom date and get back to that calendar selector that we're used to seeing in so many different reporting or scheduling tools, and then I can see my calendar and pick a date range. But I do like the option to have this, this month, this like really quick selector here. So I'm not going to go into every single one of these reports. I'm going to highlight, I want to highlight some of them. So we have titles by audiences and subjects. This is another graph. This one is also going to change a little bit. Your inventory list. So this is the first one that you're going to see an actual table. So I can see my inventory list here. Keep in mind, if you want to see the full inventory, and this is so this is where you can see the titles that were added this month. So if you ever want to see the full inventory, you're going to just do, I would do like the last, I would just say something really large, like 20 years. One of the enhancements that we are coming up with is going to be a null, or an all-time radio button, so that you can see everything without doing the last 20 years. So if you wanted the full inventory, you can do that way. Inventory list summary this is just what was added this month again. Titles transferred, most of you are not going to use that. License inventory. This would only be if you purchase your own content and you wanted to see what type of, what licensing model content was. And this is new. In the legacy reports, you could not see what your license models were. You had to ask us. So it doesn't look like anything was purchased into our sales database with a limited license this month. So let me see if I do last year. I don't think the sales demo, we don't do a lot of metered content. So I might not even see anything in here. Spinning, let's see if it shows up. Oh, yep, there we go. So I can see anything that has that metered content and what that purchase option is. So I can see single user 26 circulation limit, circ limit, and then the circulations remaining in that last column. So because I am on a table here, I do want to show you one of the other useful tools we have. So up top, this is something, again, that you might use, maybe subjects. I want to see everything for a subject or a specific audience level. Those are some of your limiters at the top that you might use. Library name, you're all one library. So this, you're not ever going to change your library name or your market type. Subjects, formats, languages, you might use some of those limiters, definitely audience. Any limiters that you apply, you're going to see those on the filters over here. Again, there's a lot of bells and whistles. Keep in mind that, if something doesn't seem like it does a lot, it might not. And let me see, where's this focus mode? So I'm hovering over the upper right-hand corner of the table, and I'm going to see this filters, so I can see what I've done. I have added a filter of purchase date, this focus mode, and this always makes me giggle a little because focus mode just makes it a smidge bigger. I don't know how useful that is. So I don't know if that's something that we're going to keep. This one, the more options though, this is very handy. So it's the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. So that's the one that you want to look for. When you click on this, you can, again, there's some of these you're not going to use. Spotlight is very similar to what I just showed you. It's literally going to gray out everything behind it. So again, not necessarily helpful. Show as a table. This is already a table. If you were on one of the graphs on the dashboard, this would be handy. So you could show a graph as a table. You can change your sort. So I can change my sort by, title or the first date purchased. And then I can sort descending or ascending, depending on what I've chosen for my sort criteria. But the most important, I think, is this export data. Because if you're like me, I'm used to working in Excel. This is nice for a snapshot, but if I'm typically, if I'm looking at a table like this, I want to do some sort of manipulation. So I would choose export data, and I would do data with current layout export, and then that's going to export that to an Excel file. So that is the basics of a table report on the manipulation. Again, several different options. The most useful probably is going to be your export data. Titles expiring soon. Again, that metered title that might be expiring, that would be this month. So things that were coming up to expire this month. If I wanted to see next month, I can toggle that to next month. Scoped titles. Again, I don't know if we have any schools on the phone, but this is a new report. You used to not be able to see a list of titles that you had scoped out. And that was requested. So again, I wish this had the null or all time button here. So I would have to do again the last however many years, 20 years. And so here I'm going to see these are the titles that for whatever reason, and again, public library, you don't have to know about this. They've been scoped out, and I might want to use the scoping tool to add them in. And then remove titles that, those metered titles that have expired. So that is your inventory. What I'm going to do now is ask if there's any questions. In the chat. So if anyone has any questions, you can put those in the chat. All right, I'm not seeing any. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to go back up here. I wish I could move this control panel. I don't think you can see it, but it kind of gets in my way sometimes. So I'm going to go back to my home page for my admin. And if you notice, that inventory did open in a separate tab, that inventory dashboard, and that is for a reason. So I'm going to click on circulation, which again is going to open on another tab. And the idea is you can compare dashboards. So I'm going to open my circ dashboard. So this one has top 10 subjects by circulation. And again, the idea is you can see what's in inventory on your dashboard versus what is circulating on your dashboard. And for those of you that have an Unbound account, so you purchase supplemental titles with us, it's going to show you your library demographics. So what your library is circulating based on what the eRead inventory has. And you might consider bumping some things up if you see that your patrons are circulating more of a certain subject. The goal is to get these two so they do actually look the same. Right now they do not. You do see the circs and holds by audience versus the audience over here. We're going to, this one does not have the by format, the circulation by format, which it should. So I believe this little bar here is going to end up in the next couple months in this circulation summary statistics page, which is right past the dashboard. So again, some other information here. The rest of these are going to be your basic tables. So your circulation lists, circulation by library. Again, you're not going to see that. You're not the consortia owner. Your hold list. If you do allow your users to make reviews, you can see your user reviews there. And then your monthly patron circulations. If you want to see active circulations for this month, there's an active circulation button. So I can see everything that is checked out. And again, I'm in my sales demo library. So this is everything that's checked out right now. So as far as controls, I showed you, pretty much the same controls apply here as did on the previous dashboard. And again, usually these takes a little bit longer to load when I'm on a webinar. So hopefully they load a little quicker for you. So I'm going to go back to the circ dashboard again. So the circ dashboard, the default dates are a little different than the inventory. The inventory dates are always this month, because again, it makes sense if you're coming in here, you want to see what's in inventory right now and how many have been added in like the last 30 days. So you're going to see that in inventory. Typically, those circulations is something that we've heard from libraries that, you know, they tend to report on last month's numbers or last year's numbers. So when you first go in here without even having to mess with anything, you're going to see February's numbers in a few days. If you come in here, you're going to see March's numbers. So it's always going to be the last one. And if you could see this all, this is months, calendar months. So in March, you're going to see February, etc. You can change this if you want to. For example, if you needed to report on the last year, you can do last, well, 1 years. And that's going to show you your circulations for the last year. Same thing in your, you know, in the inventory. You know, so you're going to see you're always going to see the current number of, you know, current number of titles, but then that date on the inventory is going to show you what was added in that date range. So hopefully this makes sense. Again, it's not like the old reports where you have to go in and always select all the numbers and whatnot. We've done it, so we try to do it so that when you first come in here, all you got to do is click on the tile and it's going to show you the information that you most likely or most often are going to be looking for. And then if you want some different data, you can make those changes to the dates. So that's the Circ dashboard. Again, we're hoping that these two should match pretty soon. So that way, you know, you can, as a snapshot, compare inventory versus circulation, because that's, you know, sometimes useful to know. And the last one that I'm going to show you today, I scheduled this for an hour. I figured it was probably going to run about 40 minutes. I thought maybe you might have some questions, so we might finish up a little bit early. But I do want to show you user reports. So user reports, we have fewer tiles than we do on the other one. I'm going to tell you honestly, there are two that I find very useful. And you probably won't use the others. So I'll show you the dashboard. Not as much clear information on the dashboard. You know, it gives you a really quick snapshot of how many users you have, your total circulation. And this is actually, this is by year. So if you want to see all times, you can select multiple ranges. New users by month and total users by month. And there's a little tip. So these two reports are actually included in this active user report. So this active user report is the one that I find very helpful, especially if you're trying to gauge marketing efforts. So, you know, say you did an event to promote things, you put out some tweets and you want to see in a certain month how effective those were. So I can come up here and I want to see, I'm going to see 2022. I can go back as far as I want, but I'll select a couple years here. And you can see it's kind of a pivot table. So, and actually when you export this to Excel, I believe it breaks it up by year. So this one isn't, but I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. What this tells me, so remember I said that the total user by month and the new user by month is also included in this active user. So here's your total users and here's your new users. So again, I'm honestly, developers, like I said, sometimes they like more than less, and sometimes people who are busy who just want the information are like, well, less is plenty. So these two tabs might go away and we'll just have this active users. So I can look in March, I had a total of 5,468 users in this database. In March, 87 new users. And so basically that makes sense. So in February, this was my total users, you add 87. So here's my new number. So I can always see what my new users are. And this again is very helpful if you're promoting things and wanting to gauge how many users you got in a certain month. And then active users. And those are your unique users. So they might be a new user, they might be an old user. Well, I mean, if it's always going to be, the new user is going to count as an active user because obviously they're new, they logged in. So last month I had 200 new users and 80 of my previous users also checked something out last month. So I like this report. I think it gives you some good information as far as how many people are using the platform. Adoption by month. This is an interesting report. This is going to show you if people are using an iOS, an Android, well, our new users. So these are new users using iOS, Android, and other. An other is always going to be coming in from a browser somewhere. And it could be a browser on a phone, but it can't tell if it's coming from a browser from a phone, whether it's Android or iOS. So anything that comes in using a browser is going to be counted here. And that also is coming from your catalog. So anything when someone clicks on something in your catalog and links to it, that is going to be considered a browser checkout. They might then, go into their phone and read it, but it was checked out in a browser. So that's what these mean. And so then you can see your total new users. Then you have your total iOS, total Android, total others. And that's, for subsequent months as well. So that's, again, users. The two that I like, the landing screen is okay. I don't think it's as informative. I love the active user and the adoption. I think those are more helpful. So again, just to review, going back here, and I'm going to go back to the home page. Interactive dashboard reports. This is the one that you want to use for this year's reporting because there are multi-use titles in here that will not reflect correctly on our legacy reports. So you can still use our legacy reports if it's something you're used to, but for the full inventory, I would not use that. I would use the new interactive dashboard reports. And I would start playing with those anyway, because eventually the legacy reports are going away. And hopefully, as we progress through the development of the next year, these are going to get really cool and have a lot of better information and hopefully a little bit easier to navigate. I'll acknowledge that some of it, can be a little bit clunky, but mostly just because I think the bells and whistles thing, there's almost too many options. So don't be intimidated by some of those. Just ignore things that don't seem necessary. But they are great reports. There's some really great information in them. And I think they're a little bit easier to use than the old reports. So any questions? Was this helpful?
I think it was very helpful. Thank you, Josie.
Good.
I learned a lot as well, and I spend a lot of time in these reports, so I really appreciate it. Oh, we do have a question that came in from Patty. What is student reporting?
Yes, Patty. So Patty, student reporting is now obsolete. I'm seeing it just because of the system that I'm logged into. You will not see student reporting. It was something that we started developing, oh gosh, 7 years ago, before Follett bought Baker and Taylor, and they had their own thing that they were doing. We will, like I said, we do have some really cool new things coming this year, though. It's not going to be tied to the student reporting. It's going to be tied to the programs and assignments. And look for some webinars later in the year for that. I'm really excited. I've seen some sneak peeks, and it's very cute and kid friendly.
We had another question come in from Amy. Is although we all share one collection, will we be able to see circ stats for just our individual library?
Yes, Amy, you will only see your library. If Anna were to log in at her level, at the parent level, she would be able to see all stats. But when you're logged into your individual library, you are only going to see yours.
Well, if we have a minute while we're thinking of any additional questions, I did want to just make a quick announcement. Is that if that's all right with you, Josie?
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. I just wanted to remind everybody on the webinar today. Well, first of all, thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of eRead Illinois. You 100% of your annual fee goes into the collection, so you literally make eRead possible. And with that, I wanted to remind you that the eRead Illinois Access 360 renewal period is coming up next month. So just want to get the word out. You're going to be getting an email with more information on how to renew your membership in April. Look for it about the second week of April. That is for any member library that is not an RSA library. If you're an RSA library, do not worry about it. RSA is going to take care of it for you. If you're not an RSA library, just keep your eyes peeled. You'll get that renewal reminder coming through. And if you know any libraries that are considering joining eRead Illinois, I just wanted to let you know that if a library joins eRead during the renewal period, so in April through the end of June, we are going to be waiving the prorated fee for the remainder of the fiscal year. So a library can join, they won't have to pay a fee until our next fiscal year starts in July. So it's a great time to join the program as well. So I just wanted to put that out there for everyone. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. I can drop my email address in the chat real quick. You guys probably all know who I am, but I'll go ahead and drop my email in the chat anyways. Just a second.
All right. Well, I'll leave that up for a minute, just for anybody